There we go. Alrighty, Mr. Jonathan, thank you so much for agreeing to come onto the show to share your story. I'm kind of excited. I'm just a little
Thank you,
excited.
man.
Just a little
Thank
bit.
you. I'm super excited too, man. Super excited.
So I just really quickly, I want to just touch on the basics. So
Okay.
one, are you married? And two, how many kids do you have?
Okay. I am married. I've been married. I'm gonna say I think 6 years now. Don't
Wait
quote
a
me that.
second. Hold up.
I know.
Hold up.
I know it's bad, right?
I'm not gonna let you off the hook on that one.
Okay. So, my oldest is about to turn 5, so we were married a year before that. So yeah, 6 years. 6 years. 6 years and some change, give or take.
Gotcha. So thus far, well then let me ask this then. So were your
And
kids
2 kids.
and 2 kids?
Sorry, yeah, 2 kids. 2 little girls.
Boy and a girl? 2 girls.
2 little girls. Yeah.
So and their ages?
One's about to be 5 and one's about to be 3. So they're 2 years
And
apart.
this is gonna be a crazy question, but
Go ahead.
we both live in Memphis, so or around the area.
Yeah.
So, were your kids planned? Were you preparing for them prior to?
Yeah, both of them were planned.
Okay. So, question. So, right now, you're in the beginning stages of them finding their personalities, and I'm sure they are completely different.
Man.
So, how are you manifesting with it? How are you dealing with that exactly as a parent?
Okay, so my oldest in particular, she's very independent. She's been like that since she was very young. I say around the age of 2, we started noticing that she's always been very independent. And not because she's my daughter or anything else, but she's very smart. And everybody, even the teacher that was taking her to, when she was going to a preschool, even she said that she has a very strong retention. Like she can see something, like hear a song, and she knows the song
Immediately.
Immediately. She can watch a movie, any cartoon movie, and within the second time that she watches it, she's acting out every scene. And she's bilingual, so she knows both English and Spanish. Yeah. So, and she has a very strong capacity for retention. She's very strong-willed, I guess, if you want to say. She has a very unique personality. She can be both very princessy, so she's very girly, but at the same time, she likes the Ninja Turtles. She likes watching like she likes Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon. So it's like the best of both worlds for me. So she's still a girl, girly, but I also have like that kind of rough around the edges little girl. My youngest, in the other hand, my oldest, her name is Aileen. Okay. And then my youngest, her name is Valentina. So my youngest, she has more of like my personality. So I know right here, I'm very like put together and centered, but I'm very like goofy and outgoing and wild, and I'm the loud one in the family. So she's just like me, yeah. So she's very loud, very crazy. She's her retention is okay. It's normal. It's like mine. She's like, I guess you can say your average, kid, but she's very wild. Like if you ever seen that show, and I forget the show, it was on Nickelodeon. It wasn't the Rugrats. It was the other one where they had, they used to go out on adventures all the time, and the dad had a big mustache, and the sister had a little brother that was very wild, crazy hair, and was almost like Tarzan all over the place. If I can remember, I'll mention it.
I was like, because I'm trying to picture it. I'm thinking, why am I thinking about expecting?
I think it's the Wild Thornberries. I think it was called the Wild Thornberries, something like that. So I compare her to that little kid because she's just all over the place. She loves the dog that we have, whereas my oldest, she does not like the dog. So she's more like my wife, where she doesn't really like the dog. But then, like me, I love, I cuddle with my dog. I lay down. I have a Labradoodle. And my youngest, yeah. So then my youngest, she's like that. So very different. They're very unique in each way, but at the same time, they have similarities where they're both princesses. They're both girly, the typical stuff. But then they both like, the cartoons, like little boy cartoons. I guess if you want to say, quote unquote little boy cartoons, right? Stuff like that. But I guess they're both unique in their own little way. I mean, just seeing them every day, like I said, the youngest is more like me, more wild, and then the oldest is more like my wife, which is more like put together. She likes more structure, I guess you can say. and my youngest is just structureless, I guess.
So, okay, so with that being said, and obviously, I know that you can see the similarity or the differences in them.
Yeah.
How does your parenting style change when dealing with both of them?
That's a very good question, Jimmy. That might be hard to answer because I said, they're both so different. And just a heads up, I'm the worst at articulating everything that I try to think and put out in words. So I'm gonna try to be as good as I can. But I guess my parenting for them both, I try to be the same for both. The only thing is, the teacher told us that my oldest, since she's a little bit more like, I don't want to say smarter, but she needs more attention because typically kids who are like that, who have a higher IQ or more like book smart, they need more attention than just, your average, normal kid, I guess you want to say.
Like she's more advanced, and so she...
Exactly. She like stuff for her gets boring fast.
Very quickly.
So she seeks a lot of attention, and you can tell. Whereas my youngest, she can be just all over the place and whatnot. But my oldest, I try to sometimes put a little bit more effort in giving her more attention, because you can tell she gets jealous sometimes of my little one, because she used to be the only kid for 2 years. So all the attention was on her. She was the baby. So now that we have the oldest, we try to balance, my time between both. And since, one is different as far as like the personality, how they act and how playful they are compared to the other. I guess for my oldest, I try to give a little bit more, how to say, more cuddle time, more affection time. Not that I don't give my youngest the same affection, but I get what you're saying. I have to be aware.
This is not my judgment phase.
Yeah, I got you.
I
try to be mindful. I try to be super mindful of my oldest, because she has that capacity already. I think she might be 2 years ahead of her age capacity. So they told us to kind of So we have to kind of be mindful of that. For my youngest, man, I play like with both of them the same. So I can be sometimes rough and just we wrestle and this and that. And I guess since they're both little girls, I try to it's almost the same for both, Jimmy. But the only difference is with my oldest, we try to be a little bit more mindful as far as giving her just a little bit more like attention, as far as her needs and stuff like that, just because she is more aware of her surroundings nowadays. So I have to be really mindful of that,
Let me ask this then. So, and not digging in on this whatsoever, but I've got to ask. So,
dig in.
What?
Go ahead.
So, dealing with both of them and knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have possibly done differently ahead of time to be a little bit more prepared? Or is there any advice that you would give to someone else to kind of help them be a little bit more prepared for the similar situation?
Yeah. Man, I don't know I like living by the moment and living day by day. So, everything is a learning experience. So even if I was to go back now, 2 years from now, even before my youngest, before my youngest was born, I don't know if I would change anything, but I might be different as far as like, because me and my wife, especially my wife, she's like, oh, I don't want my girls to be girlies. I want them to be a little bit rough around the edges, change the oils in the car, not have to worry about anybody, changing a spare tire. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. We can put them in jiu-jitsu class, this and that, right? Complete opposite. Everything just crumbled at us. They both love pink. They both like wearing dresses. They both like princesses. So I'm like, you can try to prepare as much as you want and try to sometimes, catch yourself forcing things upon your child. And me and my wife, we're both the same, where we're like, let them be who they are who they're gonna be, however they want to be, however they want to dress, because every kid is different, Jimmy. And I'm starting to notice that where, as much as I wanted, my children to be a certain way, it's never gonna be that way, So we're learning to just let them be them. Little kids, they dress funny. They,
So why is that? Why do you feel that it is okay? And again, still no judgment. Why is it that you feel that it's okay to allow them to express themselves or to simply be themselves? Because I know whether your generation or the past generation before you, that wasn't socially acceptable.
Exactly.
It was almost like a dictatorship. So why do you feel that there's that you have to allow your kids to be, you know, more expressive?
I'm very against the dogma of society of you have to be this, you have to go to college, and you have to get a degree because you need a fancy job to make money, and this and that. I'm like the odd child of my family because I think very differently. You know, I don't want to say I grew up in the church, but you know, I say around the 2000s, early 2000s is when I started going to church, and I got into the whole religion thing and Christianity, and eventually I kind of deviated from that and came back to it. But I came back to it with a different mindset, and a different mindset as my whole aspect of how I view the world. You know, my bubble is no longer just, you know, this little religion. My view aspect is different, and I'm the type of person where I don't like being told, oh, you can't wear that shirt, or that shirt doesn't match with these pants, or you have to drive this car, or you got to live this way and this like that. And I don't want my children growing up in a closed-minded Western society where, you know, this is bad because, you know, the government tells you, or because your parents told you, or because a certain religion told you. I want to express themselves, you know, according to what they feel is okay for them. You know what I'm saying? So, and we both agreed that if they don't want to go to college, don't go to college. There's different things you can do. If you want to go to college, we're here to support you. As far as the whole, if you want to get into the sexuality thing, you know, in this world right now, it's very like, it's not very open conversation yet, especially in the South. People still kind of get iffy about the conversation. I have a gay brother. My wife has a gay brother. So we're very open-minded. So we've always said, you know, it is what it is. Let it be what, you know, what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like forcing anything on my children. You know, I can try to guide them as much as I can, as far as my aspects and my views, but I don't want to force it upon them. So I guess I'm a different generation, man. I don't know, you know, a different mindset, you know, Jamie. So I'm very open-minded. I do have my boundaries.
Of course.
But like everybody else, but I'm very open-minded, and I've studied all kinds of different religions. My best friend is a Muslim, you know? So I don't like being that ignorant person that just goes by what the news tells you is right or wrong, or what the previous generation has told you is right or wrong. I kind of like to.
You know, I got to bring this up.
Go ahead.
I have to bring this up. So, with your open-mindedness and your parenting style mixed together, has any of that come back to bite you when speaking to your daughters? Thus far.
Thus far, not that I've seen yet. But again, you know, I can be eating those words 5, 6 years from now. So, but you know, me and my wife both agreed that, you know, if whatever preference they choose, I'm not here to. They're my daughters, man, and I love my daughters to the end of this world, Jimmy. And I don't want to be that parent that, you know, if they were to come out that, you know, they're gay, or, you know, they're lesbian or
whatever.
And man, if you're not out there being junkies on the street or hurting someone physically or anything like that, dude, I could honestly care less, Jimmy. You know what I'm saying?
You know what though? Like, Jonathan, the reason why I asked is, like, Winston and I, or my husband and I, we talked about it, and with kids and so forth, and we both are equally open-minded. And so I wouldn't care if my child was gay, straight, or whatever. That portion doesn't bother me. And so we ended up seeing an interview of somebody else, and their child, a male boy, wanted to dress in a dress. And so I was like, honey, I don't know about that. That one may be a little bit too far.
A little bit too much.
You know what I mean? So I was like, which is why I asked you about your open-mindedness, and I didn't even necessarily mean sexuality, but just in general, you know, has it ever come back? So
exactly. That's why I said I have boundaries. You know, I'm very open-minded, but I have boundaries. You know what I'm saying? There's things that I've seen in this world where I'm like, where sometimes parents force this kind of stuff upon their children. And children just grow up, just confused. You know, my wife's brother, you know, she swears up and down that you cannot change her mind that this is who he has been all his life, because she's seen, you know, she's been with him growing up. Same thing for my little brother. And so, I hope, right, that, that my open-mindedness doesn't come back and bite me in the butt one day.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I do have my boundaries as to certain things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But
So, but
even if it does, as a parent or even as a
yeah,
person in general, we all do the best that we can with the information that
exactly,
we have in that moment. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
so, it is what it is. But that brings up another question for me then. How has your parenting style changed? Or how is it different? Or is it the same from how you were parented, you and your wife,
Oh
how you
man,
all both were parented?
man, that's another good question, Jimmy. Like I said, I come from a Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican, so I come from a Puerto Rican household.
Mm.
Very strict. All my life until I graduated high school, I never went to a house party.
Oh,
I
wow.
never went to the clubs. Never set out late past 9, sometimes 9:30.
Oh,
Just
wow.
because my parents, and I think, Jim, I think that was a good thing for me because it it um it kind of it gave me some type of structure.
Yeah.
I wasn't wild out there just doing crazy stuff. It gave me structure that I needed, that I'm thankful, very thankful for right now as a
Mm.
parent. I see growing up what my parents installed in me, and I'm very thankful that they didn't let me go out there until 1, 2 in the morning, or just do whatever you want, just be safe kind of thing. I had boundaries, I had structure, and I think that really did help me out. And it's very different as far as then to now, because my parents, especially my mom, she's not as open-minded as I am. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah.
she's more like dogmatic religion. And this is not to take away from my mom. My mom is a
Yeah, of
lawful
course.
mom, awesome person. She's just different mindset. But I try to take the good, leave the bad, take the good, and implement the good things that I learned from my parents with
Mm-hmm.
my children. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
there's certain little things that that I have memories of, like sitting down with my dad and drinking coffee. It's very cultural where in Puerto Rico we sit down and drink coffee with crackers or cookies, and we dip the cookies or the crackers in the coffee and we eat them.
Okay.
So now that those are traditions that I'm passing down to my children. So now we sit down with my little girls, and now that they drink coffee every day, but every so often when I'm drinking coffee, they sit down with me. They drink the crackers, and so what the difference, I guess, that I can say is, I guess in my generation, we're growing up, technology wise is different. Just the whole world is different. The way we work, the way we live, the way we do things is different. So we have
Yeah.
to have to adjust what I learned and try to implement it into 2020 society.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
take the
Mm-hmm.
good, keep it, and the bad that I decided just wasn't for me. It's
And
just
and and
it's my parents' way of doing things. It's just the way how they were taught. So, and
so
just keep the good.
do you explain that behavior or your decisions to your children? I mean, I know they're relatively young, but they are of
Yeah,
age where they do understand
yeah.
certain things and they understand,
Mhm.
whatever you're explaining to them. And so are you explaining your reasons or your decisions behind why you do what you do to them?
It's funny you say that because one thing I have been trying to implement more is mindfulness, especially with my oldest,
Mm-hmm.
because she can get like very temperamental sometimes when she doesn't get her way. Typical
Mm-hmm.
child, right?
I mean, hell,
So
typical person. Hell, me.
typical person, right? Exactly. So you can't, that in culture, we give spankings.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
me and my wife, we decided that we can't spend all day giving spanking a child. It's just, to me, it's not right at all, and
Mm-hmm.
it really does hurt me more than it hurts her,
I can
because
imagine.
that's the last thing you want to do is spank your child, right? But sometimes a good spanking is needed. Um, you know what I'm saying? So what I try to do sometimes now, especially with my oldest, is I have to be mindful. Not because my daughter is young, so she doesn't understand yet that her fits is just not the right way about handling things. So we started to implement the fact, like going up to her and instead of like yelling at her and, oh, stop doing this, dude, a hug changes a lot, Jimmy. I'm telling you,
Really?
Jimmy, I get down on my knees and I'm like, come here, give me a hug. And I just let her cry it out for a minute. And then what I started doing now is, and this is just between me and my oldest, is I try to just make laughter out of the situation. So instead of like just yelling at her and go to your room and that's it, and just let her think about what she did, she's a 4-year-old. She's not gonna think about what she did. So I hug her. I'm like, and I try to explain to her, what you did is wrong. I explain to her, I tried. She's a four
In
year
her
old
language. Yeah.
in her language, what she did was right, wrong. and she has to apologize to either her mom or whoever was there that she did it to. She has to apologize because she has to know that it's wrong. And then once we get done with that, I try to make fun of the situation. So once we get done and she's calmed down, I have a thing now where I'll do this. So I go, breathe, and this. And she starts doing this and she starts crying. She's crying still. And then by the time she does the second this, like flapping her wings, she starts laughing. So she goes from crying doing this to giggling doing this, and the tears dry up. And the whole situation is completely forgotten.
Oh, wow.
And I learned to be more mindful with this other guy when on the podcast that I was doing. I had this guy named Elshonan Ulrich, I think his name is. And he actually wrote this book right here. It's called The Present is a Gift, and it's about mindfulness. And like every animal you see doing like a yoga pose. So it just basically teaches the child that in the moment of whatever is going on, just to take a deep breath, be mindful that of the moment of the situation, and try to go about it a different way. So yes, I'm trying to change my parenting, and I don't want to be like the old school parent where all they do was just spank and just yell at your child. And that teaches nothing, Jamie. I'm telling you, because that's how I grew up, So I'm like, the last thing you want to do, the only thing you want to do is go to your room, shut the door, and like, I hate my parents kind of thing. So, and I'm not trying to be like the best friend to my child. I'm trying to be the parent to my child, but I also want my child to have that confidence. Like if she was to have confidence in her best friend, to go up to me and be like, you know what, I'm having a bad day. Can we talk? That's all I need. I just need confidence and communication between my children. So I figured by implementing stuff like this now, hopefully, right? Because I don't know, but hopefully as she gets older, she starts realizing that, there's different ways to handle situations,
Oh, I am so grateful for a father like you doing that, because it doesn't happen. And even in a 2020 environment, that's not the normal.
Jamie,
Wow. No, I'm marveling at that. Like, I love that, because it teaches a different level of a social impact in how to deal with your feelings. Because it's feelings that we all deal with at any age, adult or male or female, it doesn't matter.
At any
These
age,
are all feelings that we have to deal with. And when you don't know how to communicate that effectively, you begin to act out. You begin to lash out. You begin to do things that are not, that may not be the best benefit for you as an adult later on.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so to be able to express that now, and then have a father that's there to back you up, to let you express it, and then bring you down. And so that.
Oh, that's good to.
Yeah. Like oh wow, I like that.
And Jimmy, I'm not. I don't want to. I don't want to flaunt here and pretend like I'm the perfect father, because I'm not. I do every so often. I don't lose my temper, but sometimes I do. Go to your room. Just go to your room. We just both need a moment. But then it's those times where I realize I also need to be mindful, not just her. Those are the times where I catch myself and be like, she needs me to be more self-controlled and more mindful than I need her at that time to be like that, because she's a 4-year-old child, man. She doesn't, and it's not to excuse her, but she's a 4-year-old child. I mean, at 4 years old, she's learning. Exactly. So I don't want to, I don't want her to be that child where people don't want her to go to their house because she's running all over the place and acting crazy and yelling, She needs to learn how to have some type of self-control even at this age. And especially, with her capacity, she needs more structure like that,
So speaking of the emotional side of things, and especially what we talked about before we hit record here with the coronavirus and all these things going on. So the reality of things as a human being is death. It's one of those conversations that we typically don't have. And so my question to you is have you all experienced any of that with your kids, or have your kids had to experience any of that thus far?
As far as death goes, no, not yet. We've had deaths in the family, but back when my oldest was younger, so she hasn't seen nothing like that. But my parents are getting older, Jimmy, and my wife's parents are getting older and stuff like that. So I know that 10 years from now, my dad's turning 60 this year. So, and he's, he has arthritis, he's getting older, he's always in pain. So, I mean, who knows what life brings tomorrow. So we can try to prep as much as we can. And I would love to try to explain to them what death kind of is. They're seeing little stuff here and there, like in movies and cartoons and stuff like that, but that doesn't really explain the moment or the feeling of losing somebody. And I hope that I'm actually capable of, if we ever lose a family member, if I'm capable of, trying to explain to them that, hey, abuela's not here, or tío, your uncle's not here anymore, because my little girls love her uncle Lalo, they call him, and her tia Iris, who she's a roommate, she stays with us there, and her uncle Chino, which is my wife's brother. They love them. So I know that the day that they're not here anymore is gonna really affect them, because they're always asking, hey, uncle this, on that. My daughter's crying right there now, but they've never, they've never seen or any experienced death. And I just hope that whenever the time comes, that actually I'm ready to try to explain to them that, so and so, that they're not here anymore. So, but that's a good question, Jimmy, because I don't even know if I'll be ready for something like that.
Yeah, and I get that, which is why I had to ask, because each parenting style is different.
It's very
and so
different.
some people are willing to overshare and over communicate it to the point where the child is frustrated or not understanding fully,
Or confused,
completely confused, or to the other extreme where we're not saying anything, or they're just gone on a vacation, or they're just just left for a few days. And so I mean, it's a conversation that we all eventually have to deal with at some point. And so I was really kind of interested as to how you all were coping with that.
Man, Jimmy, it's kind of funny that you bring that conversation up, because recently me and my wife, we went to do like a last will and testament and all that kind of stuff, beneficiaries, because, and it's funny, I never thought about it in my life until I got married and I had kids, and the whole situation.
Yeah, you thought you was gonna live forever.
Exactly. So now we had to go and decide, if both of us died, who has to bear, not the weight, but I guess you can say the weight of having to raise our children. And we had to really think deep about who we had to choose as a couple, who would be, I guess, the best suited to take care of my children. And we had to decide, and out of the whole family, we decided who was going to take care of her, both of them, because of the way they live their life, and the way they think, their open-mindedness. And so we chose who we had to do that, but then what if it's only me that is gone? How is my wife supposed to explain to them that, hey, daddy's not here anymore, or hey, mommy's not here anymore? So one thing that I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, the last thing I want to do is lie to them. I want to explain, hey, this is just the way the world is. So and so is no longer here. This is the way death is, and da 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 da. But I just I hope that in that moment I'm able to be honest and find some type of right words, to tell my kids, at that age or whatever age they're gonna be, that so and so is not here anymore.
Yeah, and I definitely, and I'm sure I am 100% certain that when the moment comes, I do believe you'll be prepared. And worst case,
I hope, man, I hope.
I'm sure you will. But worst case, between your wife as well as you, I mean, you all will be able to articulate exactly what needs to be said in that moment. So I have no fear of that whatsoever. I do have one final question for you. I cannot end on a negative note.
That's good. I got you.
All about positivity.
Yes,
so,
sir.
What has been your proudest moment as a father? You knew it was coming, so I know you prepared. What has it been?
That's man, you've asked a lot of good questions. So my proudest moment, you know what's funny, Jimmy? My proudest moment it's not the teacher telling me that, oh, your daughter's smart, or they're them doing that kind of stuff. I think one of the part, there's been a few, but I guess one to throw out there real quick is, they were doing ballet classes a while back.
Okay.
And not for competition, just for fun,
Huh?
And I remember the day of the recital, they were walking across the stage, and my daughter was actually, I think, the first or the second one to come out. And my daughter was like, she's yay high. My youngest, she's like 2 inches tall. She's very short. And she was the littlest one there, Jimmy. And I was recording, and I almost put the camera down because I tried to hold back, just like that moment of like, that's my daughter, like that's life that my wife created, walking down that stage. Like I used to always picture like that moment sometime in my near future happening, and it was finally that moment happening. And I remember her walking, and she had her little hand in her waist, walking like this, and she was just looking at. I just felt like proud that she was able to accomplish just something so basic and so little, just to see her walk across the stage and just be happy. And same thing for my oldest. My oldest walked across the stage, and she was just doing all this and that. And then she was looking for me, and I was back to recording and whatnot. But I was just like, because they work hard towards it. They learn the routine. They're like the little routine, right? And I'm like,
do not take that little routine away from them.
It was hard. It was hard for 2-year-old. But I was just proud as a father just to see my daughters just living with life, just happy, man. I don't ask much out of my daughters. All I ask is for them to be kids, man. And I guess to end it with some of the proudest moments is, sorry, are we still on? There you go.
Yeah, we're on. Yeah.
Okay. I guess is, when I lay down at night and I lay in the bed, and me and my wife, we love, we're the parents. Funny because we used to be the parents who were anti having kids in our bed. And now we're the parents who just, because they're so little, Jimmy. Yeah. Because they're so little and they grow up so fast, Jimmy. And I feel like I don't want to miss out on those moments. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, they'll be old enough to sleep in their own bed and they have their room. But it's when I lay down at night, Jimmy, and we're all four of us laying, and we're all little, so we all fit in this bed. So we're all laying down, and my youngest, and I'm trying to hold back, but my daughter comes up to me, my youngest, and she hugs me sometimes with such like love, and she just goes, she goes, "Te amo, papi," and I promise you, Jimmy, that she could have keyed my car. She could have broken anything expensive.
Wow.
And at that very moment, we could have had a stressful day, Jimmy. She could have, been crying all the worst day in the world, Jimmy. But it's at that very moment where it makes it all worth it. All the sleepless nights in the beginning, all the dirty diapers, all the vomit, all the ER trips, it all makes it worth it. And that for me is the proudest moments as a father, to have my daughter tell me, I love you. I'm like, and I'm trying to like, sometimes I get very emotional, Jimmy. So I'm like, those moments right there, it's like, what else can I ask out of my daughters? I don't need you to be a lawyer. I don't need you to be a fancy anything. Just be a humble person, be good, and just tell me that I'm doing okay as a father. That's all I ask for in life, man.
You don't make me cry. You don't make me cry. Oh my God, Jesus! I am not liking you right now. Oh my gosh!
But that to me, Jimmy, that right there is, I'm a happy camper at that point, Jimmy, man. That's all I can ask for, man. Honestly, that's it.
Oh, I think that is the perfect place to end. Jonathan, I thank you. I do. I thank you so much for sharing your story. Like this has
Jimmy,
been amazing.
Thank you for having me on, man. I was really looking forward to this because I got a little bit of experience now with parenting, but I'm not like the go-to parent to go to. But I got crazy experiences with my children where I love to share those moments and times, so.
But it's your story, and it is so unique, and it is, for me as someone that has not started to have kids yet, and I'm so with the baby fever right now, like 100%. Okay, 100%, like to the point where I'm literally working 2 jobs right about now. I was like, this is it, and like this is happening, like damn it, quickly, and so I'm literally killing myself right about now. Literally killing myself, working 8 hours in the day, and then a few hours in the day.
It'll all be
8 hours at night. It's just, oh my gosh, I just like, cause I want to sit at home. Like, okay, I don't.
Yeah. Oh, hey, me myself, I'm a homebody now too, man.
I'm a homebody now too. I love to be at home. Yep. But Jonathan, thank you so very much for sharing your story. I really do appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me on. Like I said, even having you on my podcast, I knew that, we have, like, I guess, good talks. I guess you want to say good chemistry
Yeah.
talk. And I love
Yeah.
talking to you. So, man, I was always, happy to come on to your podcast, man.
We have got to do coffee like immediately. I don't know what the hell we've been waiting on.